Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm Grace and we're thrilled to have you here. As you just know, we just finished our biggest reInvent ever. Datadog launched more than 40 new features, including 10 joint launches with AWS, showing just how much deeper our collaboration was across product, marketplace, and go-to-market. We've rolled out a huge new wave of capabilities from LLM observability to storage management to deeper ECS integrations. I'm joined here by two of the people who made it happen, David and Kurt. I'd love to start with some intros and maybe share some of your favorite things about reInvent this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Grace. So my name is David Mitchell. I'm the SVP of Engineering here at Datadog. I think one of my favorite things about reInvent is always an opportunity to talk to customers. We had this opportunity to hear about what they're building, how they're building it, how they're using Datadog and AWS together, and also how we can help them make sure that they have the best experience. So.
Hey. Thanks, Grace. Thanks, David. I'm Kurt Glore, and at AWS, I lead customer solutions for our North America software companies. And my teams work directly with our customers to maximize customer success and value realization. My favorite things at reInvent, similar to David, is the customer conversations. And we have customer conversations all the time throughout the year, but there's something special about the energy at reInvent. It kind of elevates the conversation. So I always look forward to those. And then the announcements. So we had lots of those joint announcements. It was a great year.
Awesome. Thank you both. Now, I kind of want to go to what was the theme for maybe a fourth or fifth consecutive year. This year, we had a lot more customers asking not just how do I build my agents, but also how do I observe them. Datadog announced some new capabilities around LLM observability, specifically LLM experiments. David, I'd love to hear kind of more about this announcement.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, for LLM observability, like we traditionally dog food, everything that we build. And I think one of the things that we're all challenged with is like, how do we go about, taking this tool that's very non-deterministic, meaning like we get the different types of outcomes depending on like how we use it, like what prompts we use or maybe what models we're using. So how do we put some constraints around that, or at least understand like, based on the changes we make, what's the outcome we're going to get? Like, are we going to get a better outcome for the customer or not? So with LLM observability, we've done a lot to allow customers to do experiments so they can decide they want to use a particular model, or they can go through and maybe make a change to a prompt, right? And they can do a side-by-side comparison and see, like, is this the outcome that I expect? We give some telemetry by default using this tool. So for instance, we'll give you some customer sentiment scoring so you can kind of understand whether or not the customers are having a good interaction, maybe with a chatbot or whatever the case is. But you can also add your own telemetry into that as well. So if there's something that you're trying to optimize for, that may not be a chat experience, we can help you go through and measure that and make sure that you can actually build using this amazing new tool. So.
Awesome. And Kurt, can you share a little bit about how this will help our joint customers as they learn to build more AI workloads into their workflows?
Absolutely. I think it's a great way to accelerate the overall AI development process. It's something that's emerging rapidly, and being able to do like prompt comparison, model comparison, or if you're, and everyone should be cost conscious while they're doing this, be able to look and kind of see what the cost will look like side by side in a single pane of glass is a really good opportunity. And I think the other thing that this does is it really brings the DevOps experience into AI application development, which the more and more I talk to customers this year, that's been a pain point for them. So really happy that you all are solving that.
Yeah, excited to be doing that too.
Awesome. I want to pivot back now that we talked about AI already, back to the bread and butter of Datadog, which is observability. Becomes even more critical in the AI era. So once you're observing your AI workloads, the next question is the telemetry feeding them. That's where pipelines come in, packs, Cloud Prim, Flex Frozen. So David, I kind of want to go to you as we look at this array of observability announcements from reInvent. Do you want to talk about some of the ones that were your favorite, some of the ones we just mentioned with Flex Frozen and packs?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, like I love this slide. I think this continues to show just this partnership we've had with AWS since early days in Datadog, where we are launching things together and we're trying to make sure that we're optimizing for our joint customers. We want to make sure they have the best experience, they can get the best tooling and best observability. A few things I am really excited about. Cloud Prim is something that we're all, I think, very keen on. So a few years ago, we bought a company called QuickWit, and a few years before that, we had purchased a company called Vector. And with those, now we have the ability to give customers the choice. They run Cloud Prem, in their environment. They can choose what telemetry they want to keep, actually pushing to like a local S3 storage, or what they want to actually send directly to Datadog. But the powerful piece there is that even if they've shipped it to their local S3 storage, they can still query it through Datadog's console. So you still have this like ability to do association across your other telemetry, ability to go through and like dig really deep into that data and understand it. And I think that's important for a lot of our customers that are thinking about compliance requirements where they can't have their data leave wherever their data center is or wherever their cloud environment is, but yet they still want to be able to use our tools. And so this is like a really powerful space for us and something we're going to continue to invest in and continue to build. Flex Frozen is just, we want to expand how long you can keep data. Like we've always been able to keep data for at least 7 years. It's one of those things that customers need for compliance reasons. I think there's like some financial reasons, et cetera, for auditing. We are going to expand that where it's now you can go beyond that 7-year mark. We know there are companies are using that data for a lot of other reasons, maybe data analysis, et cetera, and we want to make sure that they're able to store that within Datadog past that 7-year mark. And then the last thing, and something that definitely again speaks to the partnership we have with AWS is just the concept of packs. So we want it to be really easy for customers to be able to take telemetry, from AWS and ingest that into Datadog. And so what we've done was we built these packs that are like, hey, we know that AWS has this particular type of log that's being generated. You can almost single click start ingesting that into Datadog. We've gone through and understood, what the formatting of that log is, what logs are important or critical possibly to that service, and make sure that we highlight those for you so that setup is and that additional tax that you're having to do is taken away, right? And so that we can do it for you. And that's what we believe is one of the key values in this partnership is making it easier for customers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's really remarkable seeing all the work that AWS and Datadog are doing together just in this one space. So Kurt, I kind of want to hand it to you and see, the relationship between AI innovation and observability needed to support it. Mm-hmm. How is AWS thinking about that, and how do you see Datadog helping to simplify that story, that process for our joint customers?
Good one. I think about this, and at AWS we talk about flywheels a lot. So. Mm-hmm. The more you build AI applications, the more telemetry is generated, and the more need there is to have the telemetry emitted and being able to be observed. And that's where Datadog comes in and takes care of all that. So the more features you release, the easier you make it to do, the more applications can be built, and that flywheel just keeps spinning. So I think that's something that we're seeing early days, and I think we'll continue to see it. I think it's critical as these systems scale and they're being built, that the massive amounts of telemetry that's being sent from the systems is able to be captured. There are storage options if you don't want to send it all to a single platform where there could be cost concerns or storage concerns. You could send it to other places, but it's not lost. You could query it, bring it back in. So having that flexibility, as we all kind of learn together, like what do we need and what do we don't, when do we need it, that type of thing, I think it's crucial. And again, I'm really happy that you all are solving that.
Yeah, absolutely. You said storage, which leads me to what I want to talk about next. So AWS had some announcements around S3. So I want to go into that a little bit, talk a little bit about S3, kind of what you took out of it and what Datadog customers should also take out of it.
Yeah, so we announced for S3 attribute-based access control, or ABAC, which is not something that's new to the industry or even new to AWS, but it is new to S3. And if you've ever managed access in S3, you'll know that it quickly gets pretty cumbersome, having policies per bucket, and then as you scale, some customers have tens of thousands or more buckets. It's really difficult to keep the control of the access, updating policies continually. Some customers have teams of people that are doing this. So in all things that we do, we listen to the customers, we try to understand where the pain points are at, and we want to remove the friction. So that's what ABAC does. So now, you can use tagging, which also isn't new to AWS or to S3. Many of our customers are probably doing that for cost allocation now. Mm-hmm. But you can take that same concept, apply it to a bucket, and apply it to the principal, so the person accessing it, either a user or a group, and then create one simplified policy that would match, like, okay, David's requesting access to the bucket Grace created, the tags match, at a high level, access is granted. So think about it like you have, and the tags are just a key value pair, so team, data science, or project, Bravo. Keep it simplified. One thing I would throw out there though, you need to turn this on per bucket, so there is a step that you have to do. But I would say before you do that, review your tagging strategy and understand what are the tags that you're going to use for access control, and see if any of those other tags are existing, because you don't want to inadvertently create something overly permissible. So just look at that, and if you aren't sure where to start, you can always reach out to your AWS architecture team or your account team and say, hey, we need some help with this. But we're really excited about this one, and I think it's going to be something that our customers love.
Absolutely. Yeah, it helps with that cost optimization piece too. I think cost transparency is increasingly more important in the era that we're in too, and Datadog also had some announcements around that. So I wanted to talk a little bit about storage management and how it can mutually benefit our customers, similarly to what Kurt just mentioned about S3 ABAC. Is that yeah, that's how we say it? So David, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So excited about this one as well. I think, just kind of what Kurt was mentioning is, as we continue to develop more AI tooling, as we think about like building LLMs on top of this data, I think we're just seeing more and more data and trying to understand like what's the quality of that data, is it actually valuable to me, and how am I optimizing the way in which I'm storing it. So for us, storage management was that attribution piece that Kurt was just talking about. Like I have a lot of data, maybe it's in EBS, maybe it's in S3, and how do I go about understanding like who's responsible for that data, what's the cost of that data, how is it related to other things that I have, like whether it be services or hosts or whatever the case is, and then how can I make decisions around it. So our main focus here is making sure first we make this very visible. It's complementary to our cloud cost management product, so we saw this as a separate domain that we wanted to make sure we specialized in, but you also get it if you have CCM already. But then the next step for us is being able to give you recommendations on, hey, you can take advantage of AWS's storage lifecycle management products to be able to say, okay, maybe this should go into Glacier, or maybe this should go somewhere else because I'm not accessing it as much. And so I think that's the power that we're bringing in terms of visibility and in terms of like just bringing that data to the forefront. So I'm super excited about this. Excited where this goes to.
Awesome. We've talked a lot about AI, observability, now storage, and now I want to go back to AI naturally. So I want to talk a little bit about that operationalizing AI piece. So one of the big things that we keep hearing about is MCP, and Datadog had a couple of big announcements around MCP. Do you want to talk about that a little, and then Kurt, we can go into some of how that will work with Kiro?
Yeah, no, I mean we're excited. Like when we think of the products we're building in preview and what we're giving to customers, like we've heard so much about MCPs. Like customers have really been anticipating this launch, and so we're very excited to be able to offer it. We've launched our MCP with a number of tools, and the idea here is that, and one of the powers I think too of AI is we're able to shift things far to the left. So while you're in your IDE and you're starting to think about what you're going to write or what product you're building, we can start giving you visibility into what's already running in production. So actually right before this, I was using our MCP to go through and pull like, hey, what are the last set of like incidents that we've had, and like going through and doing some analysis on that to give me some insight to make sure we're focused in the right places for our services. And I think that's just being able to give that to the people that are writing the code and being able to make it where they see the observability data and they can make decisions based on that, I think is going to be something that's really powerful. And this is, again, something we see expanding dramatically. We've offered our first initial set of tools within our MCP, but we're going to be adding a lot more. So.
Absolutely. And Kurt, maybe we can start with Kiro and what it is, just for people who may not know, and then go into Kiro Powers, and we can make that connection together with Datadog MCP.
Sure. Kiro is a agentic IDE, and there are many out there. What makes Kiro special is it has the ability to do spec-driven development. So you're not just vibe coding. You can build an entire spec, and once you have the spec developed, it can go and even create user stories, create a plan, an architecture, all of your diagrams, everything before a single line of code is written. So it's like an entire SDLC wrapped up in an agentic flavor. So that's Kiro, and I love Kiro. I use it nearly every day. I love it. And I don't have to say that, but I do love it. So with Powers, and let me take a step back. So with Kiro, it works a lot better if you can steer it, like with a steering document, or give it information and guides, like what you want to do and how it should look for things or behave. So Powers takes that a step further and combines a steering document and a guide that talks about the MCP and the tools that are available within that power and when and how to use them, which is critical. I'll come back to that in a second.
Yeah.
Then it has the MCP information and then any additional hooks or guiding that you want to give it. So that's what makes up a power. So then when you use the power, and when I think about powers too, I think about, if you've ever seen The Matrix, when Neo was plugged in and all of a sudden he learns Kung Fu, drunken boxing, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu. He's learning all these things. He's like, wow, I know all this. That's what powers do for the Kiro agent. They can plug in and instantly know lots of things about technology or partner solutions. So really excited to see that. The other thing that I think is important about using the powers versus just loading MCP, and there's a time and place for each, is the dynamic loading that the powers do. So what that means is when you add MCPs, they're loaded up front, and those consume tokens, and that consumes your context window. And that was one of the lessons I learned early on with Kiro. Like, how is 50% of my window already consumed? Well, I look and I have a couple MCPs with 100 plus tools. That was the answer. So with the dynamic loading, like if I say bring in my observability, so it loads the Datadog power, it knows just when to add those tools or when to invoke them, and then when it's done, it turns them off. So it frees up my context window. So I'm really excited about that, and excited that as we launch this, there was already a Datadog power available, which speaks to our partnership and our collaboration. And with my last Kiro update, I was able to look at the available powers, see the Datadog power there. So if you're a Datadog customer, it's one click and you start operating.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
No, that's really cool. Like, I love the fact, like, Kiro being able to go to an outline, like, or for you to build an outline, hey, this is the structure of the application I want to build, this is how I want to build it. And I think that fits in really well with, like, well, we got to think about operational aspects too. So what is the telemetry going to be? Like, how am I going to instrument this? And I think that's where, like, the MCP power I could see coming into play. So that's super exciting.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. I want to talk about once AI is in production, we have a lot of customers asking for like an intelligent agent to manage your incidents. Datadog announced Bits AI SRE, which was a huge announcement for us. I'd love to spend some time on
happening in your environment, we immediately kick off an investigation, but we kick off multiple investigations and actually do triage across each one and determine whether or not which one looks to be the root cause. We already have all your telemetry data. We understand, your services. We understand a lot of the other context around your environment. So we're very accurate. We're very have a very high success rate of being able to say, hey, this is the root cause, and we show very clearly, and you can kind of see this in the diagram. This is each of the theories that we went through and tried to triage. This is where we got to in terms of we think this is actually the root cause, or why we think this is not the root cause. So that way you can still have a human in the loop. You can have someone come in and say, okay, yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense, or no, that doesn't make sense to me. I think you pair this with our incident management product. And you have some really powerful tools in terms of being able to take this, turning it into an incident, but also later turning it into a post-mortem and understanding hey, where do I have recurring incidents, or where do I have issues that maybe I have some fragility in my platform that I need to go through and focus on. So very excited about this, and again, something that we're all excited to get into the hands of customers.
Absolutely. Really important for how we're scaling incident response as well. Kurt, I want to talk about this and how AWS is thinking about incident response and Bits AI SRE, along with some announcements you all had.
Yeah, one of the three frontier, and first of all, congratulations. This is really awesome what you all have built. One of the three frontier agents that Matt Garman mentioned in his keynote was the DevOps agent. So very similar to Bits SRE. It's thinking about how much can we know about the environment, the code changes, even backlogs, IAM changes, anything that may have happened. It's very aware of the environment and just continues to get smarter with the more access and data that we feed it. But I think what I'm really excited about is how we're working together to figure out how to have these two work together to be mutually beneficial in the future. And I think about this too. I know you've been on call many, many times, and I have as well before I was here. You get that 3 a.m. wake-up call, and someone says, we got an incident, get on line 1, grab a cup of coffee, and your first question is, what's going on?
Yep.
We don't know, we're scrambling everyone, we're gonna figure it out. So you get on the call, hours upon hours later, hopefully it doesn't take that long, but let's be real, it takes hours. You start to figure out what happened, then you have to go figure out the fix, then you have to get, make sure we don't wanna make it worse, so we have to make sure this is actually the fix, go through all of your compliance pieces to get it into production, okay, and then it's over, then you do the triage, then you take a breath and then try to figure out how did it happen? Well, the beauty of the AI and the intelligence behind it is you could get that 3 a.m. call and someone says to your on-call engineer, David, we need you on line 1, you don't need a cup of coffee. We have an incident, we know how it happened, why it happened, the fix is prepared, we just need you to come on and review it with us and we'll get it into production and we'll be on our way. And by the way, the agent has also told us that there are a couple of additional guardrails we should put in place to keep it from happening in the future. So I think this is extremely important, not just for people who are on call, but for all of our engineers around the world so that they can ship faster and sleep better.
Yep.
Awesome. All right, feels wrong. We haven't talked about security yet. And so I want to talk a little bit about how when we're adding to our stack, especially when we're adding AI to our stack, security becomes more important every step of the way. So let's talk a little bit about Bedrock misconfigurations. It's been announced for a little while, but I want to dive into Bedrock and how Bedrock misconfigurations is helping our joint customers as well. David?
Yeah. So I think we're all worried about the trifecta, right? Like giving an agent access to something that's unstructured, where it could have malicious content, having access to sensitive data, and then having access to the internet. Like that's like the thing that everyone's worried about what might happen. I think one of the powerful things about AWS is that it continues to give us a set of tools and abstractions so we can move very quickly. But then one of the things you have to make sure is am I configuring this way in a way that's safe, that I'm not exposing myself to that trifecta or to just any data leakage generally, right? So one of the things that we focused on is making sure we understand what are good design patterns, and then how do we go through and actually monitor that and make customers aware, if a Bedrock is misconfigured, or if you're at any risk of exposing data, or maybe not using the AI like you intend, or even MCPs or RAG or whatever the case is, really trying to make sure that we can give you a very clear and concise view. And that's also, I'll talk briefly about the AI security graph too, because I think that's part of that as well. Is we pride ourselves on our visualizations and making sure that a human can look at a particular graph or a particular concept and very quickly recognize it and be able to understand where they should focus their time. And so I think that's where the security graph comes into play and definitely exemplifies that in terms of being able to show misconfigurations or other parts of your environment that you want to make sure that you're attending to and looking into. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kurt, I know AWS is its job 0, priority 1 for security. So want to hear about how AWS is thinking about security as it relates to AI, and kind of what you think of Bedrock misconfigurations and all of these other announcements and how they fit into the AI stack.
Yeah, it's extremely important outside of AI, but with AI at the pace of innovation and how rapidly things are changing. There's almost a new announcement daily.
Yeah.
So for our engineering teams or engineering leaders, trying to understand it, it's hard enough to figure out what would benefit your company, your product, and those customers that would use it. But then, what are the security implications? There's so many things that are still, I wouldn't say unknown, but it's it's changing so fast. We need something that's like that safety blanket there with us that is watching, hey, did you mean to do this? Because this is what could happen. Or, hey, hard stop, you do not want to do this. That extra pair of AI eyes on something, or agent eyes, it really helps. It can't prevent all possible incidents, but if we can eliminate the majority of them, and then allow our engineers to focus back on creating market differentiating features and software, we're all going to be better. But knowing that there is a system in place that's watching, it understands, it's very powerful, and the more we use it, the smarter it gets, I think it's critical.
Yeah, and that's something we're also excited about in terms of like our security analyst tool, being able to go through and be that person that's, or that agent that's always looking at the data, being able to match those patterns and say, hey, maybe you should look at these things, so that your SOC isn't like there 24/7 trying to sort through like a lot of crud, right? So, but yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all. Want to pivot one more time and talk about infrastructure a bit. So to recap, we kind of went AI, observability, storage, AI, and then we end with infrastructure. So AWS evolved on some of its infrastructure compute at reInvent. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then David, maybe we can talk about how Datadog as a part 2 is evolving with that.
Absolutely. So what we try to do is like really listen to our customers, understand what they're doing, understand where their pain points are, where the friction is. And part of that is just continuing to expand the choice that we give them in infrastructure or compute, database, storage, inference, any of those things. And you continue to see that as we broaden. And for some, they're like, it feels overwhelming, the amount of choices. But what we want to do is make sure that as we understand more and more of what our customers are doing, we're giving them those options to build and operate. So you'll see a lot of those types of announcements. And I think it's critical to have a partner like Datadog that keeps pace with that innovation and is ready to go when we announce, so that our joint customers are like, okay, this is an option in compute, like if it's a managed instance, express mode, any of those types of things that we announced. Oh, we want to use that. They don't have to come and talk to you. They're like, hey, when will you have this ready? For these particular announcements, it was already ready. So it's a big benefit for our customers, and we will continue to add choice. Try to have the best price possible and make it the ease of use for our customers. And it's great to know that you all are matching that on your side.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like just more to agree with you across the board. I think one, it's always super exciting to see what Amazon has invested in terms of making it really easy to make choices around what compute to use or what services to use, so customers can really focus on building their products, right? So they can focus on what's most important to them. And I think our job in that role is the better together, right? Like we're going to make sure we're there right with you as a launch partner, that customers have the right telemetry so they can make the right choices, and so they can see like, hey, where do I need to spend my time, right? Is my customer having a great experience, et cetera? So it's great to see these new launches. Definitely things that we'll probably be using as well internally, but also like build to have that visibility right out of the box. So
absolutely. Yeah, it's really cool to see how in lockstep we are as two companies. I like the idea of the launch partner because it really is like a co-build together. So before we go to Q&A, I want to end it kind of with what's one thing you want customers to take away from this year's reInvent, and what's one thing like moving forward, this is how we should be thinking about, whether it's about these launches or just how the landscape is evolving in general.
Well, I think for me, I would say you can't secure, enhance, or evolve what you can't see. So that's why I love Datadog. It allows the customers to see those important things, and it does it from the simplest of applications running on AWS to the most complex, so that you have the eyes on, the spotlight is shine, you get the telemetry, you get the observability, and you can reason upon all that data and make intelligent choices. And it's not just in an incident response situation or an alerts going off, but it also informs the engineering teams on how they can develop even better going forward. So that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with all that. I think the other side of that is this, and we've said it multiple times with this better together story, right? So making sure that customers can focus on what's important to them, making sure they have the right visibility, and then also not only the investments we're making like jointly as launch partners, and making sure that all these things fit together and work together very easily for customers, so it's low friction for them. But also just like how we're investing together to make sure as these new tools come out, as these new technologies come out around LLMs, et cetera, that we are looking at ways that can save time for our customers, right? And make sure that they have the best experience overall, so that these are not things that they have to worry about. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. We do have some Q&A that we got before this. So I want to start with a couple questions that we've talked about incident management. So I want to think about how Datadog and AWS see the future of incident management evolving as AI automation comes online. So talking a little bit more about incident management, David, do you want to start?
Yeah, and I think Kurt, definitely gave a good story that I agree wholeheartedly with, which is that, you get page from Datadog on call. By the time you get that page, we want to be able to tell you, hey, by the way, this is the actual issue. Like we've gone through, done the triage for you. We understand exactly what happened. And we want to get to that point where it's not only this is the issue, but these are the things that we actually took to resolve it, right? And it could be that those things are temporary measures. Hey, we've upscaled your instances, or went ahead and changed your autoscaling group, or whatever the case is, to make sure that we could accommodate like whatever the problem was. But something where that person can go back to sleep and they can worry about it the next day. And I think that's like the dream we've all had, especially as we've been on call, right? Is that it's not something we're going to have to worry about, and it's something we can do when we actually also have we're fresh, we have time to think about it, and we can make sure we make the right decisions. I think that's where we all want to get to. So.
Absolutely. This is kind of for both of you all. Trust, transparency, guardrails. Huge words that come to mind when we talk about AI. Can you talk a little bit how the respective companies and even the companies together are thinking about guardrails and other things like that?
Yeah.
First?
I can. I mean, we talked a little bit about like some of the security tooling that we're building. Again, that's the same tooling that we also use internally. Thankfully, AWS has done a great job of exposing a lot of that data so that we can actually act on it, and so we can make the right decisions. And so I think that's the direction we want to go. Is one, make sure, I think to the point of transparency, make sure customers know like what decisions they are making, what are the risks associated with those decisions, et cetera. But then also like, what are good practices? Like, how should I act on that? And so I think that's really important for us to be able to give customers like, hey, by the way, if you make this change, you're possibly like adopting this risk or exposing this data or whatever the case is, and being able to show that in a very clearly understood manner. It is something that we think about a lot internally. Like Datadog has always been very security minded, and making sure that we're taking the right steps to be studious about and responsible in regards to customer data, as well as like making sure that they can do the same for their customers, right? So,
absolutely. And Kurt, I know that we talk a lot about like bedrock guardrails, things like that. Do you want to talk a little bit about how AWS is thinking about that question?
Yeah, very similar to what David just talked about. Trust, is the system doing what it's supposed to do when it's supposed to do, and is it doing it predictably? The transparency, can I see how it did it? Can I look under the hood and actually look at the moving parts and pieces, millisecond by millisecond, understand like, okay, because that helps build the trust. I can actually see how it's working. And then the guardrails, like, I don't think any of us ever take our car on the roadway and think, I'm going to hit the guardrail. But we know that if there were something that went wrong, it's there to protect us. And that's very similar mindset. And like, we're building this, we want our customers to have the most flexibility and let them be in control and be in charge of what they're doing. But just in case something went awry, we've got something there to protect them. So as we continue to work with more and more customers and our partners, and understand how they're using it and the type of data that's being transacted, we could continue to evolve those guardrails and make them easier to use and safer.
I want to go back to Kiro a little bit. I know that's been a huge topic at AWS, at reInvent, and MCP. What do you see as like what's next? What's the possibility that we have there with Kiro Powers and also with Datadog MCP? What do we think's next? What do we think are the possibilities there for customers?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go.
So I'm just thinking like as a Kiro user and understanding like LLM experiments and things that you've recently announced, being able to be inside of Kiro and making decisions through MCP, if I could somehow connect to that and get like that information up front, like, or maybe it's not like in real time, but someone's already done the experiment and the data's there. I can just connect to it and like, or I'm starting to do something that would not be optimized, and it can just tell me, Kiro would say, hey, you need to look at this experiment. There's a better way to do this. Would you like for me to implement it? And I can say, yes, go. So I think things like that where we could continue to communicate through MCP or other agent to agent, however we do it in the future. just to enhance that developer experience, I think it'd be great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think there's also this place where being able to spin up infrastructure very easily within AWS, being able to do like have the telemetry to be able to make those decisions or do those experiments. I mean, that is like a cycle that we believe very strongly in, and like trying to make sure that we make that as easy as possible for customers and available to customers that maybe didn't have that cycle before. They didn't have the dev environment set up. They didn't have the telemetry there, and be able to quickly recommend. By the way, this is how you might want to think about this. This is where you should put telemetry in so you can actually measure and see if that experiment was valid or not. I think that's definitely one space. To your point, I think the other two for us is being able to help customers do observability well. Like where do you need to put telemetry in? Like should I be instrumenting at this point in my code or this other point? And so being able to give those recommendations, with Kiro, like through our MCP, I think it's something else that's really powerful because it'll be informed based on real world data too, which means it can only get better.
Yeah. I like that. Do observability well. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is going back to developer productivity and how we're mutually helping with that. Now, Kurt, I know we've talked a lot about Datadog announcements and our joint announcements. Is there anything out of AWS reInvent that was an AWS announcement that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I think Nova Forge. I didn't know about that one. A lot of them I don't know about, even though I work there for various reasons. But that one I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. So if you're not familiar with it, if you think about what it would take financially and from engineering and data science talent to build a frontier model at your own company, that's why there aren't very many of them out there. It's very expensive, it's very time consuming, and the expertise to do it, it's just not readily available everywhere. So we had this concept with Nova Forge where you can take, and you think about how those models are trained, there's various training points along the way. Now we have insertion points where you can essentially mix your own company or domain data with the training data along all those points. So at the end, you end up having a customized frontier model at a fraction of the cost with a fraction of the engineering effort. And it's just another way that we think about democratizing access to advanced technologies. And so I'm really excited to see which customers are going to take advantage of this early and the success that they're going to have. Because I think this it's really big.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anything else that either of y'all want to add about reInvent, or how many steps you got, anything like that?
It was busy as always. Like it is amazing. I don't know if you've published like what the total attendee number is, but every year it feels like it gets bigger and bigger. So
I haven't seen the official number. I think the unofficial number was over 60,000 in attendance, and then there was millions remotely around the world. So it continues to grow each year. And I just like to say, like, we have teams of people at AWS that are dedicated to making that the best customer experience possible. They work tirelessly year round, as do the service teams, the product teams that you're familiar with that too, that get these products to our customers. So I want to say a special thank you to those, because we get to go in and kind of enjoy it, and the customers get to enjoy it. There's a lot of hard work that goes on to pulling that off, especially that many attendees, that many announcements, all the talks that are given by employees or customers, just the full event. So it's pretty big. So thanks to that. And I would just say too, to anyone listening or watching today, if any of this is interesting to you, definitely reach out to your Datadog or AWS team and see how we can bring this better together directly to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say too, like, definitely thank you to the teams. I think that's a great call out. I know, like, the fall for us is always the reInvent time. You go through and make sure we're doubling down on all the things that we're launching with you. So definitely appreciate all that hard work to get us here.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're listening and haven't had a chance to go to reInvent, I definitely say you should do it. Well, thank you guys. This was awesome. If you're watching and want to learn more, which we hope you do, we have a couple links here for our trials, and you can learn more about some of the launches at reInvent on that bottom link. But thank you all so much for joining, and happy post reInvent.